There we go. Hello, everyone. Today we have a great panel of students that are here to talk to you guys today. These students are currently working with us this summer. They are our summer interns. Two of them have actually gone through our program and are college students in our program. So I'm just going to ask them a couple of questions, and then we can hear about their college experience and they can give their advice. So we'll go ahead and get started. Can everyone please introduce themselves, giving their name, the university they attend, their classification, as well as their major and or minor.
Okay, so hi, my name is Elizabeth Escobar. I go to Texas A&M University. I'm going to be a sophomore in the fall, and my major is allied health.
Hey y'all, my name is Itmam. I am a junior, a rising junior at the University of Texas at Austin. I am a civil engineering major and I'm also doing a minor in business.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I go to Texas University in San Marcos. I'm a rising sophomore, and my major is criminal justice, and a minor is forensic psychology.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So like I said, we'll get straight to it. Asking a couple of questions about your experiences in college in general, as well as, how COVID has changed those things, of course. So with that being said, a lot has changed in the last few months. What was your favorite part of college pre-COVID-19?
So for me, the part I loved about college was just the freedom that came with being on my own for the first time in my life. Just because, we're just kids and we've been throughout high school, we were at home with our parents and we just stayed in our hometowns. And me going away off to College Station, really, it was an experience just for me to become my own person. But besides that, I also did love hanging out with my college friends and just meeting new people and going around like the College Station Bryan area. And just what we would do is go around and just visit all the coffee shops we could to go study. That's what I miss.
For me, this past year was really interesting. I found myself being a lot more involved on campus and just active in extracurriculars. I joined some pretty great student organizations that really kept me busy. One of the most interesting ones I was a part of was this Longhorn meditation group, where I met some really amazing people that taught me a lot about spirituality and meditation, all of which have grown to be a huge part of my life. And it's played a really big role in keeping me sane through everything going on around COVID. So I'm just super fortunate to have met them this year. And that was probably my favorite part of college so far.
For me, I like going out with my friends. Since San Marcos is in between the two major cities of Austin and San Antonio, we would on the weekends we would go to Austin or San Antonio and just hang out and have fun out there. And sometimes we'll go to outlets in San Marcos and they have really big outlets and really good deals sometimes. So yeah, it's fun.
I know it's been quite the adjustment having, kind of like Elizabeth said, having that freedom, hanging out with your friends, being in those organizations on campus and just feeling like you're in your own bubble. And then, of course, having all that be disrupted and have to come back home where your parents might not see you as a, young adult college student. So prayers out to you guys with all of that going on, definitely. Since COVID, so after COVID, how has your experience changed with college, and what has been the most difficult aspect regarding those changes?
I would say it was just when COVID happened, we were on spring break. So we were already home, and then they asked us to basically move out of our dorms and our apartments, or whoever lives in the apartments, to come back into our hometowns for our safety. So that really just stopped like the student mindset that I had. So when I was in spring break and then they gave us an extra week, it was just hard to get back into that mindset that I was in college because I was at home, and I relate home to being like, oh, I have nothing to do. So I was in that vacation mode, and it was just really difficult trying to get back into that without being at my university. and having like the ability to kind of be in my own space with, and I can't do that obviously at home because my parents would come and nag me and I would have to take care of my little siblings and all that stuff. So I would say that was the most difficult part.
I've been pretty lucky to not have been directly impacted by COVID. So a lot of the trouble I've had adjusting is just in regards to missing that college life essentially. So this past year was my sophomore year, and my freshman year I hardly went out. So this year I really did try to make more of that, to soak in more of that college experience. And so I met a lot more people. I got closer to a lot more people, people who I really like being around. I was also a lot closer to my roommates. I got really close to my roommates. And to not be able to see these guys on the regular and to not be able to talk to them on the regular has been probably the most difficult thing to adjust to after moving home, like through all this mess.
For me, like Elizabeth said, I just forgot that I was in college for a little bit since um we were in spring break, and when I was here, I really missed the campus vibe. It got really boring here, just being stuck at home instead of quarantine and everything. All you could do is be at home and not do anything. So that got really boring, and it wasn't as much fun as it was as when I was on campus. So.
Okay. So continuing on with the theme of COVID, I guess, I know a lot of our incoming college freshmen are going to have to start college, differently than they planned. Some of them have made the decision to not go off to a 4-year, and maybe they're staying in Houston to go to UH downtown or U of H. So that's kind of affecting them, or maybe the way that their classes will be delivered might be a little bit different. What advice do you have for students regarding the college experience if they're going to kind of have to join during COVID?
I would say take this as a transition stage. Like, it sucks that you guys won't get to experience like all the excitement of being in college for your first semester. It sucks, but you guys have to make do. And honestly, this is really a blessing because you guys can get used to that heavy course load without having those external pressures and those social pressures of just trying to join as many orgs and just trying to find like your group of people on campus. You can do that now that classes are online. You can do that at your own pace. You can start seeing what you like and seeing what you want to join for next time that life hopefully goes back to normal.
Yeah, so if you're an incoming freshman and you're just starting college online, I think it's been said so many times before, and, us on the panel, we can attest to it probably. It's really easy to get comfortable when working from home. So just try to be self-aware. And if you catch yourself slipping up, skipping Zoom lectures or skipping out on some assignments simply because you don't want to do them, is just recognize what you're doing and don't let that become a habit. And what I figured out a little too late, working from home, is that a planner makes a really big difference. So whenever you feel a little bit unmotivated and really not in the mood for work, just take a look at that little planner, and at least you'll know what you're supposed to be doing so you can still carry on with it. And personally, that made an immense difference for me this past year.
I would say, yeah, like Itmam said, get a planner, and if you don't like a planner, get your phone and just type in the dates on your calendar. Your phone is a reminder, so you don't miss any due dates, because due dates are really important in college. And if you miss a deadline, you miss it, you can get a 0 for the assignment that you have. But yeah, just be really organized, because being at home can really like make you lazy, and not you're gonna feel like you don't want to do any work, but just do it so you can get that 4.0. Sorry.
Absolutely, Mary. We're striving for that 4.0. A lot of our students have spoken about, how much a planner has helped them whether it just be knowing when things are due, knowing when you have a test, because like they said, college, even though it may be online, even though things might look different, due dates and deadlines are still your due date and your deadline. So making sure to turn things in on time or early if possible. That way you can just kind of make sure you're staying on top of your studies. And then of course, maintaining that 4.0 GPA. So for students who, of course, some of our high school students, they transition to online courses at the end of the spring semester. But of course, that's not a college online course. So what advice do you have for students that will be or might be taking online courses? How do they need to stay on top of their work? I know we mentioned a planner, but as far as connecting with other students or connecting with your professor, for example, what advice do you have for that?
So I would say, just like kind of in general at first, online classes aren't the worst. So I would definitely use that to your advantage. And, you know, like I said before, get used to the course load, because college is a different ballgame than high school. Like, a college isn't, oh, the teacher's holding your hand. Like, professors are just going to let you go. And for advice, I would say, like Itmam was saying, even if you don't have a big fancy planner, you can even, what I did last semester was I would just write down sticky notes on my laptop, and I would write down what I needed to do that day. And I would just go day by day like that and just check off everything. Because if I did it this way, because it put less pressure on myself to just make sure I did everything and I could do it at my own pace. Also, online classes, you can go at your own pace too. Also that. So yeah.
Yeah, as she just mentioned, online classes really aren't all that bad. It just takes a little while to get used to them. I think most people understand that when you're in college, there's really no one holding your hand, and everything moving online just sort of takes that to the very next level. There's just a way more responsibility on your shoulders. I personally started off a little shaky after moving online. I wasn't the most alert throughout most of my classes, and I also didn't attend a good chunk of my online lectures. But sooner or later, I had to teach myself to go through with these classes even when I didn't necessarily want to. And after I gained that discipline, I sort of found my groove and just got used to this being the norm. And in terms of connecting to your professors, or, you know, still maintaining that relationship with your professors, one thing I noticed really I was a lot more involved in is with my professors, actually, because right now, you guys, you have the option of going to virtual office hours rather than physically going to them. And what I noticed is a lot more people show up to virtual office hours since it's so much more accessible. So there's always that. You have that opportunity to connect to your professors. And I feel like that's a lot more convenient than physically going there. So maintaining that relationship is still very possible.
Sorry. I would say, if you're scared of emailing your professor, don't. If you have any questions, email them. If you just want them to clarify something, email them. It doesn't hurt you. They don't bite. That's their job. So they just want to help you. Most of the professors are really nice. They just want to like help students, just to educate them that like that's what they went to school for. They know how it feels. And if you have any other questions, if you have questions but you don't want to email them, but I strongly suggest you can make a group meet. But make sure that in the syllabus your professor said that it's allowed, because some of the professors say no group meet. And with that group meet, you can text other people in the class and ask them questions. Maybe some get it and they can explain it to you, and some don't. But yeah, group meets are really, for me, they really help me a lot, because I always ask for help, but I'm always shy to ask my professor. I would ask my other classmates, and they would really help me out. So.
I think you guys all mentioned some really good points. Sometimes having that planner is great. Sometimes doing it like Elizabeth does it and just taking it day by day takes away some of that pressure and that stress of knowing, okay, I have these things looming over me. So whatever works for you as far as staying on top of your work, do what works best. Hopefully you've tried some different things in high school so that by the time you get to college, you know what works. They mentioned a great point that no one is holding your hand. No one's going to give you that help if you don't say that you need it. So their suggestions and their advice about meeting with your professors, it's still a very important thing. Even though you are online, you're still paying for all of the resources as if you were on campus. So your tuition and fees are still going to be about the same. So you need to be taking advantage of all the resources, your professors and teacher assistants included, because like we always say, they're the ones making the test. They're the ones who give you the grade at the end of the semester. They also mentioned that the professor, of course, has been in your shoes, so don't be afraid to email them. At the end of the day, your grade is what's important, and your grade is probably going to be determined by how much you pay attention in class, of course, but then also how much you ask those questions and get that clarification with your professor. Mary also mentioned a really great point about group me's and connecting with the other students. So of course, when you're in the classroom setting, you know, it's easy just to turn to the person next to you and ask them a question if you didn't understand it. But of course, when you're going virtual and things are online, you might feel more alone or isolated in your classes. Look down at the participants in your Zoom sessions. There are other students in your class. Feel free to reach out to them, or of course the professor if you have any questions. Good points, guys, very good points. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit. The next question is, did you ever consider attending a community college right after high school? If you did, give us that experience, that thought process, I guess. And then if you did not, why did you choose to go straight to a four-year university instead of going to a two-year first?
So for me, I always kind of knew that I wanted to attend a four-year university just because I knew that I wanted to go into a career where I needed a bachelor's degree and not an associate's degree. And I also wanted to experience like all aspects of the college life. So for me, staying in Houston wouldn't let me do that. So I wanted to choose a four-year university away from home, and College Station allowed me to do that. Also, I was lucky enough to earn a full ride to my university with outside scholarships thanks to CCC and money the university gave me. So that's why those are the factors that came into me choosing a four-year.
For me, well, I ended up deciding to go to UT pretty late. I hadn't received a great financial aid package from them, and I was waiting on a bunch of local scholarships to come through before I made my final decision. And while I was waiting, I thought a lot about backups. I don't think I ever seriously considered community college just because my parents had certain expectations for me. But I definitely thought about it. I thought about going to a community college for 2 years and then transferring. But ultimately, I think I ended up settling on a four-year because of a couple of reasons, really. One, the connections, the connections that they offer. A four-year, they usually get a lot more funds than a community college, so they can usually open up more doors. They can provide you with more resources and more opportunities. So it's just a lot more credibility if you go to a four-year. Second, like Elizabeth said, I really wanted that sense of that college experience. I wanted to try and be a little bit more independent. And going off to live in another city is a much better way to do that than attending your local community college.
I kind of considered it at times because it was something my parents wanted me to do. Because my older siblings, they didn't really go to like a full university. They just got their associate's degree, and they were just expecting me to do it since my older siblings did, and that was something I didn't want to do. And I was like, I really struggled with trying to convince them to let me go to a full university. So when I went to CCC, the school trip, it really helped me like look at the campus and seeing like how it feels on different campuses. And I knew that I didn't want to stay here because it's not like I didn't like my parents. It's just I wanted a little bit more freedom, and I just wanted to experience things by myself at times. Since I was turning 18, and I just wanted to have that experience of the college life and everything. And I decided to Ford University because they gave me a pretty good amount of money and I could make progress. So I just decided here and I really like it.
Okay. I think we can all agree that, sometimes our parents may have an idea of what they think is best for us or what they would like us to do. But I think at this time, especially for a lot of our students, it's important for them to kind of advocate for themselves and, explain and express to their parents what they would like for their lives, since this is kind of the beginning of, the rest of their lives. I think all of you guys are right. Having that freedom, having that sense of independence and kind of learning and knowing who you are once you get off to college definitely adds to the entire experience. So I can definitely agree with you guys on that. So for this question, I know you guys might have mentioned some of the things that you're probably going to answer to this question, but I think it's very important. So many of our questions are questioning, whether they should, get rid of their dreams of attending a 4-year and just stay to attend a 2-year community college here back at home. Or they're thinking that college isn't for them altogether because of everything going on. So what advice would you give to a student who is kind of thinking or deciding at the last minute, maybe college isn't for me, maybe I'll be okay just working instead?
I would say definitely depends on like your personal situation, but I would say don't let this COVID just take over your life, because college will always be there. And even if you don't want to do it right now, it's fine. If you have personal reasons, it's fine, but definitely take the advantage of like what have we been saying, that use this as a transition stage, because you might not have this opportunity, maybe not even next semester, where you have to go straight into college and just deal with all that, all that pressure of going in and being on your own and all that stuff. So I would say, again, take advantage of this. The online classes aren't as hard as in-class lectures, so you can have a little bit of ease of mind of that.
I think it's understandable that they're having doubts. Most people look forward to college and the whole independence that comes alongside it. And taking those same college classes online, just it's not as tempting. But for the incoming freshmen, I think, like, I know it's been said a couple of times, but it really is a great opportunity to gauge these classes and to figure out how you can be successful in college without, being distracted or being possibly overwhelmed by everything that a college offers. So with these online classes, you're not going to get swamped by everything going on in college. And it's really just a good chance to focus on grades and academics and to figure out what works best for you when it comes to, being successful in college. Excuse me. It's going to make the transition a lot smoother, because COVID's not going to last forever. It's going to make that transition a lot smoother once you physically get to college, since you're already going to be down with what works for you when it comes to classes.
Yeah, I would say just go to the semester and see how you enjoyed it, and at least if you do decide to continue with your studies, you'll be ahead of most of your classmates, because most of those kids are like, no, I'm not gonna do this. So it'll be good that you'll be ahead and graduate earlier than them. So that's a good thing. And I would say take this as a blessing. Like maybe do like college classes better. And whenever you finally get to campus, you can take half online and half on campus. And it could be a good mix in between. So you can see what really works for you in college. So that could be really good too.
Yeah, I also want to add that if you do decide to just like take a gap year, I would say it's going to be a lot harder to come back into that student mindset, just because you let so much time go by where you don't remember how to study, you don't know how to just do like little basic things that we've been doing since high school and all those 12 years that we spent in school. So I would definitely just continue your education. It's better to keep the ball rolling than stop and then start again.
Absolutely. I think, Elizabeth, you mentioned a great point. That gap year, it's a long year. It doesn't seem like a lot of time, but being out of school for a year, not looking at a math problem for a year, not, reading a book or doing an English assignment for a year can definitely affect you, your academics, as well as kind of your mental and your attitude towards academics when you do return. And then, of course, we always mention to our students, when you do not go straight from high school to your four-year university, you miss out on a lot of financial aid opportunities. There are a lot of scholarships that you get going straight from high school into that 4 year that you lose out on if you kind of take that year off or start at a community college instead. I think you guys also mentioned a really great point that COVID is not going to last forever. I know it's been here for a while, a couple of months, and we have no idea when it's going to go away or when things are going to return back to normal, whatever that will look like. But I think it's very important to remember, before this started, you had a dream, you had a goal. And of course, trying to continue on with that is what's important, because one day when this is over, whether it be in 6 months or 2 years, time will still have passed. So do you want to be almost done with your degree, or do you want to be just working and figuring out how to go back to school? So I think that's a really good point for you guys to mention. Okay, switching gears again. I know you guys mentioned your college majors. How did you decide that was the major for you? And did you change your major since entering college? If so, what was that process like? Is it difficult? But tell us a little bit more about your college major, your choice for that major, and kind of some of your plans for after graduation.
So my college major, again, it's allied health. And I've always known that I wanted to do something in healthcare just because I've been fascinated with like learning about the human body and just learning about diseases and all that stuff and how to cure people, basically. And so going to a four-year university is what is going to allow me to do that. And I want to go off and become a doctor. So I need that bachelor's degree first. And being here at 4 year, I can get all those prereqs out of the way, especially with my degree, allied health. It's just kind of like regular health across the board. You can go into nursing, into just any other type of health career you want to go. I would say it's a good base career instead of going to biology or chemistry. I despise those. So I didn't want to do something so heavily science-based. I wanted to do something where I could just switch my path easily. So that's why I chose allied health. And like I said, I wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor. I don't know what specifically, but I do want to maybe specialize in dermatology.
And then I know you changed your major, Elizabeth. Can you speak a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I've changed my majors twice now. It's just from science to science. I used to be a kinesiology major when I came in as a freshman, and now I recently switched into allied health. It wasn't that difficult just because all of my science classes transferred over to another science major, and it was within my college. I think my college is, this sounds really bad, I don't even know my college. It's education and health, I think. So it was within the same college, so it wasn't that hard for me. I know other people who were in biology, they were in the College of Science and had to switch over to allied health. They had to go from being a science major to a general studies and into allied health. But don't be afraid to change your major. Nobody really cares, and it's not that big of a deal. It's just you changing your mind on what path you want to take in your life.
And for me, I'm a civil engineering major. I've always been really into designing things and just really into the process, behind the scenes process of how things are built. Civil engineering just fit that mold really well. I also have an interest in business, and civil offers a branch in business, well, a concentration, and it just seemed like it'd be the perfect fit for me. The plan right now for me, I am hoping to go to business school after my undergrad. Maybe not right after because business schools want you to have some experience, but that's the plan. I'm trying to get an MBA in project management so I can deal with more of the business side of an engineering firm. And I've never actually changed my major, but I do know a bunch of people that have. And frankly, I think it might depend on the school, but internal transfers can be relatively competitive, especially if you're trying to transfer into business or to a STEM program. And if you're planning on potentially transferring or switching majors, I strongly recommend you do it your first semester or your first year at the very least, because as to not impact your 4-year graduation plan. Like Elizabeth said, since she was done with all of her classes beforehand her first year, it wasn't really a big deal. Or like her general classes, I mean. And I know the big thing for internal transfers is GPA, and that's like the very top thing they look at. So as long as you keep that up, you have a really good shot, I would say, at transferring. You have a decent shot at
Well, I'm a criminal justice major again, and I chose it because it's gonna sound a little dumb, but whenever I was little, I love watching crime shows. I still do. True crime, everything with that, anything with unsolved murders, um, anything with that. So I always like the psychological side of crime more, like why people do things and like what was going through their mind while they were committing this crime. And I haven't changed majors since I entered college, but I have been considering it since with everything going on in the world right now. So we'll see what happens. And my I really like my criminal justice class because I feel like I fit in them. I don't know. I really do well in my criminal justice classes, and like not like I don't do good in my other classes, but I do better there since that's the thing I want to do for my career. So I feel like if you're gonna choose a major, choose one that you're gonna like enjoy taking classes for. So yeah.
I think that's a good point. Always thinking about you, your dreams, your goals, maybe not what everyone else is doing, what your family members or your friends think you should do, but what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and something that you could enjoy possibly doing for the rest of your life is very important when choosing your major or minor. Elizabeth and Itmam mentioned great points as far as changing your major. It doesn't have to be difficult. Of course, that kind of depends on when you make that change. So Elizabeth making her change earlier in her college career was fine because a lot of her classes transferred. She pretty much stayed in the same college. But as she mentioned, if you're a biology major wanting to switch to engineering, it might be a little bit more difficult. You've taken classes under the biology major that you don't need for your engineering major. So some of those classes might have been a waste. And then as Itmam said, if you're trying to transfer or change specific majors, especially some of your harder majors, your STEM majors, your business, your engineering majors, they'll look more at your GPA and whether or not you're eligible or qualified, so to speak, to kind of do some of the work for the new major that you're doing. So of course, if possible, make that decision sooner rather than later. But at the end of the day, it's also better to make it as opposed to not making it at all, because you don't want to graduate with a degree that you won't enjoy doing. So for our very last question, we'll just ask that we all kind of go around and give one last piece of advice for incoming freshmen that are pursuing or will be pursuing their bachelor's degree in the fall. Just one last piece of advice.
So I would say the biggest thing is know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed. College is hard, but know you can let yourself take breaks and go off and do something else. It's just to help with your mental health because, like I said, college is a different ball game and it's a whole different stress that you get from college. So making sure you're taking care of yourself mentally should always come first, no matter what. So yeah.
Yeah, like you just said, college, once you guys get there, there are, a lot of highs and a lot of lows. a lot of times the lows seem to outnumber the highs, and at times it's messy, at times it's upsetting. On most days you might feel really busy, you know, you can have a lot on your plate and overloaded schedule. And so just every once in a while, I think it's really crucial that you just back up, just breathe, and just make sure you're enjoying yourself there. Just simply step back from whatever you're doing, look at the bigger picture that is college, soak in college, and just be present. You know, of course, grades are important. I know, I think that's something that gets shoved down our throats, like most everybody. And grades play a huge role in defining your future. And as important as grades are, it's also really key that you guys come out of these 4 years with more than just a degree, you know, and that includes meeting more people and just making some happy memories. Like, I understand that sounds, you know, incredibly vague, but that's only because in college, you have to essentially fill in your own blanks. And it's important that you discover what you like and just make that your own experience, if that makes sense.
I would say, don't get too stressed if you don't know what to do with your lives yet, because I certainly don't know what I want to do with my career yet. It's okay. Half of the people in college don't know either, so just don't get too stressed about that. And it's okay if you don't get a good grade your first assignment, or if you don't get a good grade at an assignment at all. You can always do better the next time. There's always more assignments. There's always more tests. Don't go on that bad grade too much, because then it's not gonna be well for your mental health. And don't stress yourself too much. You can always go. You can go out with your friends and still study and have good grades. Just don't just draw like, I'm gonna have a bad grade, so I'm just gonna study and study and study. Don't do that. It can get really bad for your mental health, and mental health is really important in college, because you need to feel good so you can get good grades.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. The mental health part in college gets overlooked a lot. Like Itmam said, everyone's like, you know, get your grades right, make your connections, get involved on campus. And we sometimes forget to tell students or remind students, like, take care of yourself too. Your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual well-being, that kind of affects the rest of your life. It affects how you view your academics, whether or not you're going to go to class or you want to join these organizations and connect with new people. So I think all of those things are very, very important. So thank you guys so very much for sitting on our panel today. Our students are very happy to hear from you, and, you know, hear any advice that you give before they kind of start this new chapter in their lives. So they appreciate it as well. And we'll let you guys go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem.